Are you thinking about upgrading from a kit lens to a wide-angle prime lens? In this video, I'm going to be comparing these two lenses and seeing the pros and cons of each. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the two lenses. Then I'll look at the usability of each. Finally, we're going to take a look at the price and see which one's the better bang for the buck. So what are these lenses? This is the kit lens that comes with the Canon M50. It's the Canon 15 to 45 millimeter 3.5 to 6.3. Now this is the Canon EFS 24 millimeter f2.8. So now that we know what two lenses we're dealing with, let's get into the usability. Now I have three main points that I want to give with this. The first is the low light capability. The 24 millimeter is a prime lens, and that allows it to have a much wider aperture of 2.8. The widest aperture on the kit lens, it's 3.5. And once you get to the equivalent 24 millimeter after zooming in on this, it's only 4.5. This means that with the same amount of light, you'll be able to see a lot more with this lens with the aperture at 2.8 than you will with this lens with the aperture at 4.5. Now sometimes this wider aperture isn't necessary. If you're shooting in bright daylight, you might even have to lower the aperture on the 24 millimeter. However, it is really nice to have the options. And this brings us to our second point, which is bokeh. Now with this kit lens, you're not going to get much bokeh, if any at all. The lower aperture just means that the field of view is going to be much longer than with the 2.8 millimeter. That means that it's going to be a lot more pronounced with the 24 millimeter. And finally, that brings us on to point number 3, versatility. And this is where the kit lens really shines. It's a zoom lens, whereas this one is stuck at 24 millimeters. If you want to change the look and you have this one, you have to switch out the lenses for something. Whereas with the kit lens, you can keep this lens and just change it from 15 to 45 mil. This ease of use and versatility is the reason I keep coming back to this kit lens. Finally, that brings us to the price. Now usually you will have gotten this kit lens with the Canon M50 if that's the camera you bought. Now the difference between just buying the camera body and buying it with the kit lens is about $100. But if you didn't, this lens from Canon, last time I checked, was almost $300. Now I have found it for around $100, but I don't know how reputable those sellers are. You might be able to find it for a little bit cheaper used, but chances are you're only going to get this if you also buy the M50 with it. This 24 millimeter on the other hand, I've found that it usually costs around $130. It's much easier to find used. But with the M50, which is the camera I have, it requires an adapter from EFS to EFM. This adapter from Canon costs an extra $130 or so. That brings the price of this plus the adapter to $260, which is pretty close to this one. Now you can find other brands that sell this adapter, but I can't speak to their reliability or quality because I haven't had them. Now the 24 millimeter with the APS-C crop of the M50 may be kind of difficult to vlog with. If that's what you plan on using these lenses for, I'd recommend going with the kit lens, especially given its added versatility of being a zoom lens. If, however, you want some really nice bokeh and better low light performance, you can't go wrong with the 24 mil. Now if you think that this 24 millimeter is right for you, I'll have a link for it in the description below where you can go and buy that easily. Leave a comment and let me know what you guys think about the 24 millimeter versus the kit lens. If you want to see something similar to this but with the Canon 50 millimeter f1.8, I plan on making that video soon, so consider subscribing. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one.